If you listen to my last episode, we were talking with TK Kits about sugar babies and all the types of money laundering and money mules and things you need to know to protect yourself. But we also teased about doing another interview with him about artificial intelligence or deepfakes. Because if you watch the podcast on my YouTube channel, the person you saw me speaking to, that's not the image of TK Kits. That's not even his voice. He was using technology because he does a lot of undercover work to mask his identity. So I invited him to come back and share more with us about how this technology works. Welcome to the Privacy Mentor Podcast, your partner in the fight against identity theft, fraud, and cyber threats. I'm your host, Carrie Kursky. So thanks for joining us here today, friends. Like I said, I'm so thrilled to have TK Kits back to talk to us about deepfakes and this technology that he uses so he can protect his identity as he does a lot of undercover work. So as you can see, we're doing, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, we're doing a face-to-face interview via Zoom, and you can see me, you can see my face, and you see me interviewing someone. And again, that is not his picture, and the voice you're hearing is not his voice. But if I didn't tell you that, you would have no idea. So TK, thanks so much for joining us back here again today. And let's get started on this. So what is a deepfake?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be back. And a deep fake, in short, is AI-generated synthetic media. So essentially, the technology can make anyone look like they're anywhere, saying anything you want them to say. And they really have kind of two versions. You have the deep fake videos, which are kind of an audio clip or a video clip of a real person doing or saying, fallacious things, or fallacious things, I should say. And, computers using the deep machine learning or deep neural network to analyze and learn the movements and sounds of those, two different recordings that are then combined. And essentially you get an output of something that looks realistic of a real person, but everything that's happening in the video, everything you're seeing, everything you're hearing is totally fabricated.
Wow. It is scary. I know when we first started seeing some of these and they'd put out little clips, you could kind of tell that it was a little bit off, but some of the latest ones I've seen, you would have no idea. And even talking with you today, because we're doing a Zoom interview, and with doing interviews through technology, yeah, there might be a little glitches and little things off, but sometimes that happens and screens will freeze. So it's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's fake. So where did this technology start? Why did they start doing this?
So interestingly enough, it actually first kind of debuted, to my knowledge, on a Reddit forum. Back in 2017, there was a guy that had come up with this idea and made, proved the concept and got something working, and actually was swapping faces on adult content. And that was the first use of it, was in that realm.
Wow, that's kind of scary, knowing that people could put your pictures on anything and make it look like you're doing something that you probably would never do, especially not in the public venue. So who has access to this technology? Do you have to have special skills and training, or can the average Joe download and use this?
Yeah, so it's essentially accessible to everybody at this point. The barrier to entry has, kind of shrunken to be almost non-existent at this point. It used to be that, you had to have extreme, processing capabilities, computer hardware, and then programming ability to be able to set up, the scripts and the programs needed to make this work. But as, technology advances and time goes by, more people are, picking this up out of hobby. People are picking it up out of, in a research sense. And so now you can essentially go on the internet and find multiple sites that you can do face swapping. There's even apps out now where you can do a simple face swap, where you take one picture of somebody and swap it over yours, or vice versa. And, it's all just readily available. And what's becoming a little more scary though now is the ability to do this in real time, and kind of like what we're doing now. And that's where the shift is kind of coming.
Yeah, and that is scary that you're doing this in real time. So why is this technology needed? Is there any good reason to have this technology?
Yeah, so as far as why it's needed is probably just a matter of opinion from one to another. But I would say there are definitely good uses and bad uses for it. The good use cases are, in criminal reconstruction and things like that. I've seen it being used for good in those situations for crime scene reproduction or things like of that nature where they're using the technology. We've seen it obviously we've been seeing it in video games and entertainment, like movie in the entertainment industry, where they've been using this type of technology actually for the last few years, really, in movie production and things. And but most of it's post production. I saw recently in China they're starting to use virtual news anchors. So they're using the technology to essentially have a 24-hour news anchor available that they don't have to pay a dime to, because it's just totally fake. But
Wow.
someone, and so it's pretty incredible.
Wow. And I think if I remember correctly, wasn't it the Super Bowl or there was something where they had a commercial and they brought back to life one of, who was it? Not Heisman. I don't know. One of the big, I'm obviously not a huge football person. My husband
Yeah,
is, so he would be embarrassed that I don't know who the person is, but some famous coach or something. And they had him do a commercial and it wasn't even him. It was this
yeah,
technology.
yeah, exactly. And there you're seeing that you'll see that as well in other movies where they've brought back um, you know late actors or actresses and things like that, kind of to make cameos and just little Easter eggs inside these movies and stuff. But yeah, so there's definitely legitimate use cases for the technology. And we've even seen it. You'll see it on some of the late night TV shows. There's a particular creator named Dr. Fakenstein, and he has a website. You can check it out if you want to see kind of the quality of these videos in the wild, where he takes different faces and creates these clips that have been featured on late night TV pretty regularly. And it's just solely for satire. I mean, he has no other use for doing this than just for entertainment purpose. But there's also a lot of nefarious uses that could come forth as well.
Yeah, so let's start talking about those nefarious uses. What are some of the risks associated with this technology?
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, the bad actors are far outweigh the good in technology in general. I would, when it comes to the internet and different types of things we have out here. So in this situation, there's quite a few risks. I mean, you have from just a new form of identity theft altogether, where someone can just literally take any photo they want off the internet and pretend to be that person, down to reputation damage, because you have you could take. I mean, there's been cases where somebody was able to impersonate a CEO of a company and then direct its financial officers to make transactions or to make changes in the company. And I mean, that they've defrauded millions and millions of dollars out of large corporations with using this technology, just simply because people thought it was really their boss. and it's just crazy. And then spreading of disinformation. I mean, that can be a danger to democracy as a whole, misleading voters and things. Not to mention starting world conflict. When they start using this technology to manipulate the sounds, the thoughts, or the videos of these world leaders and things, that can become very dangerous. Stock market manipulation. The list goes on and on and on.
Wow.
And then obviously, just the phishing, the new age of phishing, where it used to be you get like an email or a text message, and it'd say, hey, click this, and we need to follow up with some information, or you have an alert on your account or whatever. And they try to get some information from you or pretend to be someone else. Well, now we have this new age kind of phishing, where people are using this technology to kind of like I mentioned with the CEO being impersonated. they're using this to impersonate a plethora of people. Anyone that's in any position of authority, they're using it to, spread misinformation and manipulate others, whether it's just to provide access for hackers or to get to data, or if it's, for financial gain, or both. So it's really a pretty scary technology that I think needs to be certainly, the public needs to be made aware of it and be on the lookout for how to detect, when they are seeing it. And that's kind of the next, thing in this whole saga, is how to detect it. And that's where, the large tech companies are currently running to try to figure out how to do that.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard people talking about they're trying to create software. So when they're watching a video, it'll pick up on if it is actually this technology, or, if it's a deepfake. So yeah, there are a lot of scary implications. And like you said, the fact about it was the message from the CEO telling all these people to go and do stuff. It's bad enough when employees get an email saying, hey, go buy me gift cards and give me the codes. Now, if you see a video of your boss telling you that, or, if you have someone who, if you're trying to take down your competitor, all you have to do is make their CEO look like they're saying something absolutely horrible, post it on social media, let alone, like you said, for the elections, and our whole democracy. It's actually terrifying. And I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this, because the more people are aware of this, the better chances they'll have to question things, as opposed to taking it at face value. And I know for a long time when people write text messages, well, they're like, oh, anybody could have written that. And then it was audio. Well, anybody could manipulate the audio, but for some reason, people still take video at face value. So I think this is great, you coming on. Now, there's another image that you are going to use. And the first time you brought this one up, it absolutely freaked me out. So if you're listening to the podcast, if you want to see what's happening, and I'll explain what's happening here in a few minutes, but you can go over to the YouTube channel and you can watch, and we're going to show exactly now. Right now, TK's changing through some images. And the image he has now brought up is me.
And I've tried to get somewhat of a quick female voice here, but probably it certainly isn't doing you justice, so forgive me. But this is kind of just a brief demonstration of how simple, it can be to just kind of be done on the fly, and without very much needed. I mean, that's kind of scary.
It is. It's very scary. And this was just an image that he found online of me and plugged it in. Now, he had sent me an email saying, if it's a certain kind of image, he could do it where it'd actually be much, much better. Because as he's talking and moving, you can see some things. But if you're just having a quick call, or if it's like a quick little 3-second or a couple minute video, you would never even know. You would think that was me talking on that screen. So that is absolutely terrifying. And it didn't take you much at all to be able to switch that. You just had to pull up the other image and it went right over.
Yep, that's right.
So TK, thank you so much for joining me again. This was absolutely terrifying, and I really appreciate you letting all the listeners know about this technology that's out there, and then also doing a demo for us. People wake up, this stuff is advancing. It's advancing rapidly. And right now you might have to have a little bit of a skill set to know how to use it properly, but pretty soon it'll just be download an app on your phone and you can be anyone you want and make a video. So this stuff is out there. It's going to continue to improve. And until there's technology to counter it and let you know, be careful taking things at face value, because you could end up getting in trouble. TK, anything else you'd like to share with the listeners?
Thank you again for the opportunity to be present here and share this information. The main thing is just always remember, be careful what you put out there on the internet. Privacy is becoming a thing of the past. So, and a lot of us are the reason that's happening. So just be careful what you put out there, and stay safe.
Definitely. Yes. Thank you. And that's a perfect way to end Privacy Mentor podcast for today. I want to thank TK for coming on, and also want to thank you listeners for tuning in today and for all of your support. And don't forget, join us back here next week for another episode. And until then, stay safe, my friends.